Thank you, Sami Jamar, joining us from Nairobi. We have Delali joining from Ghana. Thank you so much for joining us today once again. My name is Juliet Oluoch. I am from the Africa Research and Impact Network. And on behalf of our executive director who is in this call today, I am pleased to welcome all of you to our review session. And we'll be having a lot of discussions. So grab your coffee and let's have a date with you for 1 hour, 30 minutes from now. So I want to start off by introducing us to ARIN and really what we do for the sake of those who are joining us for the first time today. So the ARIN, or the Africa Research and Impact Network, is a consortium of over 200 researchers and policymakers with national focal points across 36 countries in Africa. Our mission is to promote research excellence and dialogue on best research and impact practices by providing platform for science policy interface in Africa, building on evidence. So ARIN recognizes that that Africa is endowed with diverse researchers and innovation and best policy practices, which are not in the public domain, yet they are very valuable in the research and development agenda of the African continent. Therefore, we seek to provide a peer review platform where best research and impact practices from different African contexts can be shared, profiled, and leveraged to inform transformative policy action. So we have pioneered path-breaking research in different thematic areas, some of which are climate change and energy. We have sustainable development, cities and resilience, agriculture and forestry. We also have engineering as part of the areas of focus that we look at ARIN. So that's a brief overview about our organization. Please check out our website at www.arin_africa.org to be able to find out some of the things that we do and some of our policy convenings. So every Friday, we hold Friday review sessions where we give fellows opportunities to share their research findings and outview and get reviews from fellow peers, but also from our team of experts. So this is our very first review for the year 2023, and we're starting it on a very high note. We want to ensure that we are looking at clean cooking, which is very pertinent to each and every person joining us here today. Before I invite the speaker, may I kindly confirm if Dr. Farmer is in the call? She will be doing our translations. So I can see Dan is saying that I am breaking. Is it that way for everyone, or is it a problem from Dan's end? Right, so I don't think Dr. Farmer is in already, but we'll be sure to update you as soon as she joins us. So today we are having a presentation from, sorry, I can see a lot of chats coming in. That is Emily saying, I can hear you clearly from my end. So thank you so much, Emily. Dan, you may want to check your internet, or maybe you can leave and rejoin the session to see if it works for you. So as I was saying, today we have a very interesting speaker who will be talking to us about product testing and development for clean cooking in Kenya. And I'm going to pull up his biography shortly so that we can know who is talking to us today. So our speaker is called Mr. Don Gaitano. He's a renewable energy professional who is passionate about sustainable energy use, clean energy, and protection of the ecosystem for future generations with more than 4 years of working experience. Mr. Danson currently works with the Kijani testing as the monitoring and evaluation officer in charge of renewable energy. His typical day at work involves carrying out lab testing of renewable energy and productive energy use products. He also conducts desktop research, analysis, and reporting to their various partners across the globe. On days that he's not in the office, he's in the field overseeing various projects. At the early stage of his career, he worked as a technician with Solar Now Limited and FuturePump Limited, where he gained massive skills on installation, maintenance, and repair of home appliances, solar home systems, and solar irrigation pumps and kits. He holds a bachelor's degree in science. He holds a bachelor degree in renewable energy and biofuels technology from Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology, that is right here in Kenya. He is a certified solar PV technician by IPRA and African Young Leaders Fellow. He has certifications on electrical training from NITA, that is the National Industrial Training Area, monitoring and evaluation, as well as report writing from Allison Academy. He's also currently undergoing training as a project management professional at Project Management Institute. Additionally, he has participated in several workshops and forum discussions to champion for better policies and promotion of use of clean energy technologies. So Mr. Danson is so eager to learn and use his acquired skills to push for better results and a better future. So without further ado, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Don to take us through what he has in store for us today. Meanwhile, you can keep the conversation going on the chat, and I'll be sure to look out for any interesting comments from you. As usual, these Friday reviews are not lectures, so please feel free to ask questions to contribute to the topics as much as you can. Karibu sana, Mr. Don.
Hey everyone.
Hello.
Just say to share my screen. That's fine.
Yes, we can see your screen.
So I go straight to introduction. I will start with the company I work for. That's Kijani testing. So Kijani testing, we are a company that has been in existence for the last 3 years, and what we offer is
sorry, Don, could you kindly speak closer to the microphone, or you could opt to do it without the earphones? Thank you.
Are you able to hear me now?
Perfect.
Okay, great. So we offer lab testing, field testing, and after-sales support for renewable energy products. Besides that, we also deal in productive energy products, productive energy use products. And then our services include, so we offer convenience to companies that are trying to venture into the Kenyan market. Then we do the product and market testing services. We collect data and analyze. And then we also have resources for Internet of Things that we use for monitoring and evaluation. And then we also offer services, training and after-sales services to our clients. So I'll jump to the topic of today, which is product testing and development for the clean cooking sector. So I'll start with the definition of the three terms that build our topic of today. That is product testing, product development, and clean cooking. So product testing is just the process of measuring the properties of product, and this with the sole purpose of introducing the product to measure the usability and defining the suitability of the product. And then product development is just the process of bringing a product from a concept to the market. The process involves conceptualization, designing, development, and marketing. We will discuss this further in our next slide. Then clean cooking refers to the use of cleaner fuels and energy efficient method to prepare food. So the main agenda is to reduce the emission, reduce the amount of biomass we need to prepare food, and then also to improve health. Yeah. Then the product development process entails 5 parts. Different writers have put them differently, like there will be 6, 7, depending on what they are looking at. But I would summarize them into 5. So the first part is to ideate. So when you want to go through the product development process, you conceptualize a concept, and then the concept brings you to coming up with a prototype. Then the prototype is what you bring to test. When you have the prototype, you try it. You can either try it in a lab or lab setup or in the field. And then once you've tested and tried your prototype, then the next step would be to launch it. So you release it for just to look at how the end user who's supposed to use this prototype is going to interact with your idea. And then after the launch, then the next process would be to iterate. So iteration just simply means you going back to the occurrences of the events that have been you've gone through the idea, test, and launch, and then you look at what you can be improved in your prototype. And then once the iteration process is complete and you're able to implement your ideas that you have for improvement, then the last process is normally to commercialize your idea. So commercialization would be the end. But then we look at the most of the successful products, you realize that this process normally is a cycle. So you ideate, you test, you launch, you iterate, and then you commercialize. Once you commercialize and you look at how your product has performed, then you have to go back to ideation. And I think we have seen this even with the phones that we use. So you use the phone for a while as the company is trying to find something new to improve the kind of product that they gave you. Yeah. And then so I'll go to reasons why we need product testing and development for the clean cooking sector. So the major reason would just be to create a safe, effective, and efficient product for the end user. So this is done by ensuring that we make a significant contribution to reducing air pollution, improving health, and protecting the environment. I was just looking at another report, and I think the clean cooking initiative has really impacted lives. And one of them was listing like 4.6 million lives have been affected by bringing clean cooking technologies to them. So in this report, and this was published by the Clean Cooking Alliance, that is the annual report 2021. They're saying that the 4.6 million of lives have been saved through the clean cooking initiatives and technologies that have been brought on board. This is just to give you a wide perspective of how if we embrace the product testing and development, then we could really impact life positively. Then, so for the clean cooking, we normally have protocols or procedures that we go through when we are doing the testing. The most of these protocols are have been harmonized by the international organizations for protocols, the ISO, and you also find that different organizations have come up their own testing protocols, but these are the most commonly used protocols that we use in the clean cooking sector. So there's the water boiling test protocol. This is just the test that defines the amount of, we can look at the amount of energy that is spent to raise the boiling of water from, say, from 25 to 30 degrees up to 90 degrees. So the 25 to 30 will be just the normal room temperature. So we can look at the amount of energy spent here. We can look at the efficiency, the thermal efficiency of the technology that you're using to boil the water. We can also look at the overall performance, just how the technology behaves while it boils the water. Then we have the safety protocols. So in the safety protocols, we look at a number of aspects, like from just how the material that has been used to make the technology looks like, is it safe for use? And during the performance of this technology, is it safe for the end user? Is it, sorry, is it safe for the end user, and can it be used sustainably without impacting the environment? So those are the kind of things that we look at in the safety protocols. We have a number of these documents that are available. Some you can buy on the ISO certification platforms. Some of these documents are also free. You can easily download them on the websites of different organizations that are dealing with protocols, majorly on clean cooking. So, and then the next thing will be just to, the next protocol is controlled cooking test. So this kind of test is deals with the just looking at the behavior of a technology when it's cooking or preparing a locally known food. Say, like in our case, we can test using Githeri. Githeri is locally known. So we look at how the technology is able to perform by preparing Githeri against another commonly known cooking device, say a jiko. Yes. And then the next testing that we normally conduct is the durability protocol. So this is just to look at how robust is the cooking technology that is being offered by the manufacturer. So in the durability, we can even subject these technologies to extreme performances. Say if this is an electrical appliance, then we can look at how it behaves when it's having a power surge. For instance, when it's under charged. So and then this will inform the lifespan of a technology. So we have different parameters to check on to see that a technology is durable or not, and with that we can easily rate whether the lifespan of this technology is able to impact on the end user. Then we also have the kitchen performance protocol. So this is just basically to look at how the technology is able to perform in the kitchen, how the end user is able to interact with it. And we also normally look at how the end user behaves around this technology. Do they appreciate it? And mostly some would put it as like, are they able to achieve kitchen ergonomics with this technology? And then the last one that we look at is emission tests, the amount of, say, gases that are released to the environment using this technology. So we have a number of these protocols. Some have not been listed here, but these are the major protocols that are we normally look at. Then the next slide, I'm going to talk about the emerging trends in the clean cooking sector. So the clean cooking sector has been developing over years, and we appreciate that at least we have some technology that is coming in to improve the sector. As we know that the world is quickly evolving. So there is use of IoT, that's just Internet of Things, to do monitoring and evaluation. We have devices like loggers. We have things like pay-as-you-go services. So these ones can easily be coupled by the clean cooking technology to check on their performance. We have loggers that can check on emissions to just see, look at how much CO2 is being able to is being generated by using, say, a GICO. So these technologies are really helpful, and we should really do a lot to ensure that we always keep we are updated with this technology to the benefit of the clean cooking sector. And then we also have another interesting topic about carbon market opportunities. So we realize that this is a sector that has been developing over years. Most of some companies have been leveraging on this by finding how they can benefit on carbon markets. Through interaction, we realize that still it's a very young environment, and it would also be nice to put a lot of emphasis on how most of us can benefit from carbon markets. And then the last one would be the clean e-cooking development. So we have been having a lot of developments around electricity, cooking using electricity, and that has seen emerging of magnetic induction cookers. We also have off-grid solar-powered EPCs. So this kind of trends will really be helpful to the clean cooking sector. The other day, someone was showing me, is it a cooker that you just connect to, you plug it to power, and it produces a flame. I'm yet to understand how that works, but I think some of these things will be so interesting to get and to learn and know how we can put them together so that we benefit. And then the next slide will just be talking about the challenges we are facing. In the product development department. So some of these challenges are broad, like there are challenges that every other department would face, and it's upon us to see on how we can work on them and increase chances of this clean cooking thing being successful. So one of them is limited capacity. You realize that most of the technologies that are coming in, say like the EPCs most of them are the e-cooking appliances. We still don't have equipment and material and even personnel to give us the right direction on how to go about it. And we also, if you look at, say, the government testing labs like KEBS, they still don't have personnel and even equipment to test these appliances. And it's upon majorly the private sector, like our lab, say Kijani, to jump the gun and go around looking for these test protocols and put them together so that we're able to operate. So that's a major challenge that we still face in this sector. Another one would be the technological gap. A lot of technologies are still coming in. Most of them are widespread across all sectors. But then you find that in the clean cooking sector, so some of these technologies that would be so relevant to us, we haven't still been able to grip them. And then the next thing would be limited opportunities. So there are still very limited opportunities in the clean cooking sector to support the product and development sector. And then the last point, my last point is the inconsistency in approach toward the clean cooking technology. So just like if you look at it, there's a paper, the Forest Act of 2005. It banned the production of charcoal. But then when you're talking about clean cooking technologies, you find that charcoal is one of the sources that we try to put in the topic of clean cooking. So you realize that some of us are still having attitudes around what is clean cooking, what is the safest, which one should you refer to as a clean cooking. So I think with all this, you realize that there's some inconsistency in the information, the kind of information that is out there, and it is upon us to sit down and harmonize this. Yes. Then, so the next slide, I will look at the next steps that we can take to counter the challenges. So one is just to lobby for resources, support the product and development of the clean cooking technology. That one we can do together by partnering, looking for, say, platforms that raise, we have a number of, I appreciate that we have a number of platforms right now that are really focusing, putting a lot of emphasis on getting donations and getting resources that can support clean cooking sector. So as a product and development department, I think this is the backbone, and we should really see on how we can put a lot of our resources here so that we so that we can have a proper end game. And then the next thing would be to call for government participation to ensure that the responsible department are up to speed with the clean cooking technology. So I appreciate even with the clean cooking associations and all the organizations that are really trying so hard to bring the government on board to have this kind of discussions, but there's still some laxity in terms of the government accepting that this technology is here with us, and they really need to do something about it. And we really have to continue pushing so that we can have some presence and especially a lot of pressure in the government departments. And then the next thing would be to participate in international standards discussion. So you realize that these protocols that we develop, the ISO, the body that is responsible for developing the protocols internationally, they sit down and normally discuss and come up with a standard document. But then if we don't participate, we'll find that some of our ideas, some of the things that we have in mind or we are doing are not incorporated internationally. So we should look at avenues of finding a platform to discuss, to have discussions, and even engage the committees that are there to put up these standards. Then the next thing would be to intensify training and discussion on clean cooking. And we, for example, we really appreciate what ARIN is doing, having all these discussions every Friday, just to keep looking for people, informing people, and it's so interesting that sometimes you are somewhere and you realize that people are not even aware that this discussion has been going on. So I think we should do a lot, and this calls for a lot of support from the sector players, so that the information gets out there, that we're already having this discussion, and it's something that we are doing to ensure that clean cooking technology is being embraced. And then the last one is just to continue developing partnership to foster for growth of the clean cooking sector. Yes. Then I think that's my last slide. And then, so my parting shot would be to just to award to the clean cooking sector. Like, so for us to achieve the 100% pay, we have a goal here in Kenya. We have a goal in Kenya to achieve the 100% transition clean cooking by 2030. I feel like we should really have deliberate action points. Our decision should be really informed, and by doing that, we have to come up with products that really impact lives, and I'd call it products for customers. So, and someone put it like, so you don't have to look for customers to buy a product. Let the product sell by itself. And to do that, we can only achieve by investing a lot of our time and resources to have a very serious product and development department in our companies or the manufacturing industry, so that the kind of product that we are releasing out there is something that the customers themselves appreciate, and they don't have to think that this is just a hogwash. Like, we are, they are getting better than from what they had, depending, given what they're being given currently in the market. Yes, I think that would be the end of my discussion. It was short, but I hope it's good. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Don, for your interventions. I think those are very pertinent issues, but I want to read this comment from Oluoch. Enoch is saying, charcoal should never be mentioned in clean cooking arena because it's dangerous to, sorry, I think there's an echo from my end. All right, sorry about that, but I think I can see a very strong point from Enoch Oluoch, who's saying charcoal should never be mentioned in clean cooking arena because it's a dangerous thing, especially to the health of users and the general environment, since it produces dangerous gases, which occasionally have been causing a number of deaths. I think those who are dragging it to be clean cooking fuel are cartels who are in the business of charcoal sales, and we couldn't agree more, Enoch. So thank you very much for your comment. And Don, that was a wonderful presentation and good work to the Kijani testing for the work they are doing in providing field trials and market testing services to renewable energy and off-grid appliances and equipment. And all this is really meant to positively impact lives of potential users. So if you have been consistent in attending our reviews, then last year you were able to see what ARIN has been doing really to promote the modern energy cooking services. And I think it's now more evident that there is a potentially transformative opportunity for Kenya's clean cooking sector, and not just Kenya, but Africa's clean cooking sector, to break out of this, business as usual with embracing electric cooking. So I do not want to add onto what Donna said, but I want to open the floor to our listeners and everyone who's joining today. So let's kindly, I think there's a question that has been posted to you, Don. Do you want to respond to it? Where do you classify biogas as a biofuel? So you may want to respond to that as I keep an eye on the chat for comment and feedback from our very vibrant participants.
Yes, so just to first comment on the usage of charcoal, I think I agree to some extent. But you also look at one of the main agenda for the clean cooking is just to reduce emissions. We haven't agreed to what level we want these emissions to be reduced to, where there's still a lot of discussions and people attending COP to just get to know which levels these emissions supposed to be reduced to. But also we appreciate that there are companies out there that are trying to even bring this charcoal, it's called charcoal efficient vehicles. So with this, and you can actually compare with even the kind of data that you get, that these people, you are able to actually reduce a massive amount of emissions, especially CO2 emissions, with just using the efficient charcoal vehicles. So I think the clean cooking, the term clean cooking is an evolving term. I'm very sure centuries back, we didn't have anything to do with something called clean cooking. Right now, we are having this discussion and it's here with us. And in the very near future, we are going to have a very different opinion on what clean cooking is. So yes, and we also want to bring everyone on board so that we agree on one thing. And so that is my opinion on usage of charcoal. And then the next thing would be, the next question is, where do you classify biogas and biofuel? Same as just what I'd said on charcoal. Biogas, I think, is a clean cooking source of energy. If you look at it in terms of the emissions that it's able to give to the environment, if you compare it to other sources, say use of petroleum or even kerosene, or even just using direct wood on just burning direct wood, I'd classify biogas and the biofuel as a clean source of energy. But still, I insist that the word clean cooking will be evolving, and in the near future, maybe we might have a term called, in quotes, cleaner cooking. Yes. So and whatever the suggestions that anyone might have on this is still welcome. And then my next question, I think they're over, right?
Yeah, so there are a number of questions in the chat, but I want to give an opportunity for Caroline Mulinya to ask a question, and then she'll be followed by Emily and Finney, and then you can take those 3 questions, and then I'll read the ones on the chat. Caroline, please.
Thank you, Juliet. Thank you, Juliet. My name is Caroline Mulinya, and thank you, Don, for that wonderful presentation. My concern all the time is that We talk about these things, we develop many technologies, but the problem is, and I think the biggest challenge is sensitization. How well are our people sensitized? Including my own mama, by the time you tell her that gas is even cheaper than firewood, it takes a long, long period of time for her to want to accept that notion. And I think that is where we need to start working from. As a team, all of us who are in ARIN, we need to really, really think on our way forward of how we can sensitize our people. And I'm putting an example of my mom. My mom has always used cooking kuni. Hata ukiambia mama, when you tell mama that gas, even the meko, the little one, it's about 1,000 shillings or something. And right now, she's just with dad and maybe a workman and a few people at home. So even if they cooked using that can do a month, the little meko, that can do a month. And that's about 1,000 shillings on the higher side or something. But she will still insist on getting firewood, which is very expensive if you did an analysis. Why? It's because she has not accepted the fact that she believes gas is expensive. She believes electricity is more expensive. All of us sitting here today, I think our starting point is, what are we going to do to our people? Because the moment we change their thinking, the moment we change their mentality, then we'll be good to go. Otherwise, just having these technologies, doing them many times, and not talking to the right people or persons is not really helping. My scientists, my colleague scientists and fellows, and many of us in this I think this cohort, I think we really have to talk about issues sensitization, issues knowledge, so that people can be able to know these things. That was not a question as such, it was just a comment, but I don't know what Dawn has to say about this, because I think there's a problem somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Juliet. I think I'll go next after Caroline. And thank you, Dawn, for the nice presentation. Now I have one question, or even two. I know, or I'm aware that you test different brands of clean cooking appliances, inclusive of the EPC. So my concern is at the moment in Kenya, we have different brands of EPCs, which go at different prices. Now, many of the times when we reach out to our potential consumers, they ask, how do you know which brand is suitable, or how do you know the best brand to go for? Is it dependent on the price, or are there other parameters that will tell if an EPC brand is good for use and how durable it is? How can you help tell someone based on the testings you've done on the different appliances, which EPC do you think is the best so far in the market based on your testing? And number two, this is not a question, but just a concern of what clean cooking entails, because we had this discussion, I think 2 weeks ago, of what entails clean cooking, and someone was saying the use of jikokoa is clean cooking. I stand to be corrected, but from my thinking, I know we are trying as much as possible to reduce the emissions coming out from these cooking fuels, but do we have a threshold that really demarcates between what is clean and what is not clean? Because otherwise we'll be losing the whole objective of what clean cooking entails. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Fini, do you want to go next before Dawn can respond?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you so much. This is a lovely discussion, and I've really enjoyed Dawn's presentations regarding to the entire kind of discussion. I have 2 pressing questions. The first one is related to the, and I love that Caroline Mulinya asked something related to that, but I also want to tie to the Mulinya question. for Molina's case, of course, she's noted that how do you convince your mama and so on to shift to that cleaner cooking. But for my case, I have a classical study of my grandma, I'm sorry to say. And she has that clean energy. She has been provided with that platform. She has a gas that is being paid for, is being facilitated. But at the same time, she'll use the gas for cooking certain kinds of meals, but she'll opt to the firewood for certain and particular kind of cooking needs. So when we talk about this, and Molina saw about the sensitization narrative, we have people that have accepted that, yes, okay, you've convinced me that I need to go green and I have the gas and I use it. But I think it's custom and norm that has confined them to understanding that maybe I need to use my firewood to cook ugali. My grandmother will never cook for you ugali on a gas. She has it there and it's working, but she'll never do that. So how do you do this sensitization to an extent where that this person that also has this clean energy believes that, okay, I just have to use it fully. I don't have to resort to other alternatives based on the cultural kind of understanding that they have. Because I believe firewood, the use of firewood, especially for the villages and our rural areas, is embedded on culture. How do you aim to transform that within this narrative of pushing for clean cooking agenda? So that's my first question. And the second question is not the motivation about the private sector. ARIN has really led a lot of interesting research. I've been privileged to work with ARIN on a lot of research on clean energy and of course going green. One of these studies, the one thing we did is try and understand the actions being taken by private sector to reduce the energy emissions, because we were looking at strengthening non-state actors' participation within the climate action domain. So when we came to this entire narrative, we found that what motivates the private sector, most of them was about the profits. Of course, you've taken up the space and discussed that as a company, you're trying to go green. But what is the ideal motivation for the private sector when it comes to this space? And the motivation is in this extent. You find this mama somewhere that is willing to go green. But then the financial situation and the poverty situation does not allow her to go green and wants to resort to these alternatives that you provide, but under a loan capacity in instances where they can pay for it within their own kind of. So how do you distinguish between the privatization aspect of this climate action agenda and the humane aspect of it? How do we respond to the humane need of this mama just being like, okay, I want this, but my livelihood does not allow me to do this. But as a company on your side, maybe it's driven by profit, or maybe it's driven by climate action. How do you harmonize these kind of needs within your framework of trying to communicate to these vulnerable and poor households in the entire framework? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Finny. I think I would like us to take the question from Danson, and then we'll go to the questions and the comment. But I think your points are very, very critical, especially on how do we break the cultural barriers to e-cooking. And also the question on motivation for the private sector. So I think we'll really open the floor to anyone who would also like to kind of respond to any questions, because I'm aware on the call we have also clean cooking experts. So please feel free to also kind of respond. But Dan, Danson, you can go ahead.
Thank you so much, Juliet. This is a very healthy discussion. Again, I'd also like to take the opportunity to congratulate my friend Don for that wonderful presentation. Now, Before I ask my question, I'm from Kakamega and I live within the community. We have been doing briquettes for over 10 years now, and the issue of transition has come in just as the former speakers have brought the concern, but it takes a while. I know we have sold our briquettes to over 3,000 households. And although when we began, we experienced the same problem. You sell briquettes to someone and because they are your friends, they just buy it to promote your business. But at the end of the day, they go back to their charcoal and the firewood. But I know by consistency and when we keep on insisting the importance and the efficiency and all those kind of things, including health implications, gradually the barrier of culture and preferences begin being broken is gradually. I think this is something that we have developed over a while now. And even as we enter into the promotion of e-cooking, we are seeing changes and people are really adopting it, though not at the rate that we could have expected. Now back to my question. I've even put it on the chat. We have been making briquettes for a while, and you find that some of our briquettes work better in KCJ rather than when you put the same briquettes in like the Jikokoa, they don't really perform well. So I just wanted to ask Don to clarify, because the efficiency of an appliance really depends also with the efficiency of the fuel that is utilized in the same. Maybe it might be easier for electric cooking because electricity is the same, but it's the appliance that really may change. You may want to use whichever Sayona or whatever it is. But now when it comes to other cooking devices, like when you talk about you have briquettes and you want them to be used, you want to measure the efficiency of the same. How do you balance the two so that you make sure that you are in your protocols, you are bringing in a fuel that goes well with a certain appliance? I'm saying this specifically because even right now, after the declaration of the issues around climate change and the carbon credits, we have so many people who have come in to start making briquettes on themselves. And I think standards have to be improved. And otherwise, it will be like our products are not as efficient as are being advertised and also promoted. So thank you so much for that. Danson from Kakamega.
Thank you so much, Danson. So Don, do you want to start us off as we look on to any other person who would like to contribute to any of the questions that have been asked?
Yes, so thank you for your questions. I think they are very good ones so that we can have a very fruitful discussions over what we are sitting here for. I want to combine Finny and Caroline's questions. They are also touching on the same thing. So we have conducted studies and we have done a little research. The product development process is a very interesting process. And when you look at it, you don't just, the idea that you have might be totally different from what you meet. They are out there in the field. And it's just the same way the comments are becoming that people are still behaving differently with different kind of technology. And Caroline has given an example of the mother. The mother is still convinced that wood is the best source economically compared to using gas. And we also have looked at this. So we have data to show that actually using LPG or using electricity is more efficient than using charcoal or even wood. But then you look at where the people who came before us are coming from. It was a time when electricity was costly. Only people who are able, who are economically empowered were able to have even electricity connected to their homes. So it's just a perception that is still there with them. And it takes a partnership and cooperation from different sector players to help these people interpret these reports and understand that as we are currently, this is the new development and it's it's supposed to impact their life positively. We also look at so one of the things that came out strongly during our study was you find people complaining that when you cook with charcoal with charcoal or wood for longer hours, and when you cook with an EPC for say 30 minutes, the taste of food is different. And I think if you look down, these are just things that maybe these people are used to, and now that change is there, they still find it hard to adapt. And just as I've said, it will just have to take a lot of us going out there training these people, and with time you realize that they start to appreciate these technologies. Yes. And then the next one was about this one was asked by Emily on uh, how do you advise someone on preference, say they want to buy an EPC? So we've done a lot of testing, a lot of appliance testing, and some are not even inside like they are not available locally. Some are imported. So on preference, I would say it depends with uh, the the financial ability of someone, because also you realize that this EPCs, different EPCs come with different prices. It also depends with the locality. Are you able to, when you have the amount, are you able to get the EPC that you want? I think the common goal of all these products that are out there is to impact on lives. As much as we also talk about cooperative motivation, such as getting profit. Most of before these products are out in the market, before they are launched, and when we were talking about the product development process, I'm very sure that these companies look at this process before they even put a product out there. They are tested. They are they work with companies like Kijani to just ensure that the products that are out there are best for the end user. And what we are just doing majorly at Kijani Lab is just to validate that whatever the information that the a manufacturer has put on the, say, the package about the EPC is the right information, and it can be verified. And then we also have organizations, mostly we've worked closely with the class. So clubs have a platform where they have put information about the EPCs that we've tested. And when you visit their website, you're able to see how these EPC perform against one another. And yes, that is a lot to do with if you want to purchase an EPC, you can go to this website, but most of the time you find that this EPC, once they are on the shelves, you can be able to choose and identify for yourself the kind of EPC you want, depending on what you are able to give. Yes. And then the last question is about the testing of the GCOs either using briquettes or charcoal. So yes, I've also participated in a lot of discussions on this the issue with briquettes, and some of the people have raised their concerns that briquettes are not as efficient as charcoal. When we are testing the two, when we look at the test protocol, to get the efficiency, we actually measure the amount of energy that you get vis-a-vis the amount of energy that has been converted. Say when you are boiling water, how much energy has taken the water to boil from say the boiling test from 30 degrees to 90 against the energy content of the water. And then with that, the ratio gives you the efficiency of your cooking method. So we just as the same thing with attitude and even just how people perceive the technology. I think we still have to go around do a lot of discussions to go around how we can accept some of this technology, because at the end of it all, I think the common goal is just to ensure that we reduce emissions we impact positively on health by ensuring that the amount of air we are breathing is clean and the environment is not impacted negatively. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Don, for responding to the questions. I can see Eldad's hand is up. So I want to give the chance to Eldad. And to those typing questions, unless you are in a completely noisy background, I think it would be great if we could hear your voice as you ask the question personally. So if you're able to, Sami Jamar, could you kindly come after Eldad, and then we'll have Leah Aoko and followed by Tom Randa in that order. If you're not able to unmute yourself, kindly send me a text on the chat and I'll be able to read out your question. Eldad.
Okay, thank you very much. And then thanks to the presenter for the wonderful presentation. Yeah, my question is, we are talking about clean cooking. I would like to put myself in the shoes of maybe someone who doesn't understand anything. So my first question is, clean cooking, what is the focus? Is it clean to the consumer or clean to the net environment? And then if it's clean to the net environment, then I'm asking again that we are talking mostly about e-cooking. And I want to find out from the presenter, with respect to their standards with which they work with equipment and others, at what rate of power consumption is an electric appliance considered clean? At what rate? Or do they have anything of that sort to consider? Because if it's clean to the consumer and it's not clean in quotes to the net environment, then it brings a question mark, because most people have a concern that, okay, if we are increasing our power consumption, then we are also putting pressure on the net generation. And then if the generation is from a mixed sources, which includes crude generation and others, then we are now going back to the same problem that we are trying to solve. So I want to know from the standard, at what rate of power consumption do we consider an electric cooker or an electric appliance clean? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eldad, for the very important questions you just asked. So Sami is not able to speak, but I want to ask Claire to kindly unmute herself and voice out her question.
Thank you, Juliet. I think the discussions here are really useful and will inform our clean cooking perspectives going forward. I'm really interested, and it was just a follow-up on Caroline's question and on how we can address the local perspectives on clean cooking and these ideologies on clean cooking, because we're dealing with people who have fixated ways of cooking, making their food. So how can we address that? I also wanted to ask Dawn, yes, upon my question, on the clean cooking initiatives. There are many that even benefit the economically disadvantaged, but according to outfits such as Kijani, what is the role of clean cooking in just transition processes post-COVID-20, post-COP27? Thank you.
Thank you, Leah, for your question as well. Very important question there. So Tom, do you want to come in before Dawn can respond to all the three questions? I can't hear you personally. Can everyone else hear Tom?
Better?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Oh, okay. So my questions are basically two, and I think the presenters already started answering the first one. The first one is on the standards that I used. So I think in the last comment, I had how the efficiency is determined, which was a case scenario, but maybe some more comments on the standards that I used for different appliances. And how closely are we working with the our standards and quality check organization in Kenya, for example, the KEBS. Then the second question is on the life cycle of the appliances. I know there is a gap in e-waste management in Kenya, but there are efforts to kind of address that. And maybe as a tech-driven institution, I wanted to maybe inquire if there are plans or arrangements on the management of the waste that comes with the appliances after their life cycle, whether they have thought of that or considering something in that line. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Tom, for your question. So John, would you want to respond to all the 3 questions that have been asked?
Yes. So yeah, I'll start with Elder's question. So I think this one we have discussed, and
sorry, John, I think you're quite low again. Do you want to speak more closely to your microphone? Perfect.
Great. So for elders, I think this question is about whether the technologies, say the electrical appliances that we use for cooking, are they impacting on the environment, and whether they if they are impacting on the environment, are they still used efficiently by the end user, or and vice versa? I don't know whether I got that right. If that is still on.
Yeah, I'm still on. And I also added that at what rate of power consumption do we consider an appliance clean?
Yes. So like I previously commented that so this clean cooking topic is something that is still developing, and I'm very sure, and this one you can take to the bank, that in a decade to come, we will not still be having the same conversation, because even companies that are used to, I know a number of companies that used to produce these efficient vehicles, and currently they are now focusing on coming up with electrical appliances. And in the near future, I know there's be discussion of the amount of energy that these appliances consume. Are they economically viable, and are they? So it's a very developing topic. I want to say that what we do as a lab is we look at the technologies that the end user previously used, and then we look at the appliances that are into the market that are perceived to be clean cooking, and then we compare the emissions. You look at when someone is using a Chico is producing emissions. These emissions are not just directly going to the environment, they are also going to the human body, and that is going to impact on health. So I think generally the clean cooking should be looked into both the impacts on human health and the impacts on the environment. And this one should come like they should come as a compact thing. I've looked at some websites which are dealing with clean cooking, and they are doing a very nice thing. They are comparing the amount of emissions that the technologies are giving against the amount, the cost, and also they are comparing it to the amount, the effect on the environment. And I cannot ascertain that the technology, and I don't believe that it's still there, that a clean cooking technology should just produce this kind of technology. This amount of emission should cost this much to be classified as a clean cooking technology. But what we are looking at the end result should be the amount of emissions that we are releasing to the environment. The amount of energy that we are using to prepare our food should be to a reduced level. And we have lots of reports that compare this. And people have also tried to criticize some induction plates, saying some induction plates are consuming a lot of energy, and therefore should not be classified as clean cooking. But also in the other aspect, you look at, for example, Kenya. Kenya is already at 90% electricity that is being used on from the grid is clean energy. So all these discussions, when you look at them, I think it's an improvement from the past. And as we also try to criticize, we should also embrace the people who are also trying to put their foot forward to bring development in this industry. And then I will answer Leah's question on the role of Kijani. So what we basically do here at Kijani is we collect a lot of data. We do a lot of studies, field studies, and even here at our lab. And this information that we collect, we translate it for the end user and even the companies and clients that are working with us, so that this information is able to, sorry? The information is able to get out there on the clean cooking transitions. And we have already reports that are published. You can always access them online, and some are on their way to come. And with this data and information, we also use this to train people, to just, it's called capacity building. So we release this information there so that people have knowledge on the kind of technologies that are available. And if you actually meet people who are so passionate about conserving the environment, you realize how they are so much appreciative of what companies like us are doing. Yes. And then the last question that came from Tom is, how do we work with organizations, say government departments that are responsible for developing these protocols? So most of our procedures are borrowed. We get them from the documents that have actually been developed by the government institutions. For instance, for testing the most current appliances that in the market, we might necessarily not get the right protocols that are meant for this, because this government processes take time. But then when we want to develop a protocol for an appliance, we look at the past, whatever they've done with the appliances that are already in the market, and what we need to look at with the current market. So with just little research, we are able to come up with a protocol. We have also engaged in discussions with them. We have had meetings with KEPS just to see on how we can always work together to ensure that we are updated in terms of what the government requires from us. And then we believe that we are doing a great work with them. And then the last question was about e-waste. I call it e-waste. So most of these appliances, especially the e-cooking, are made of electronics, and we appreciate that at some point they come to end of life. One of the things that Kijani is currently trying to venture in is called technical support. So technical support is a service where someone has an appliance, breaks down, and then they cannot even locate the manufacturer. They cannot get into contact with the manufacturer, or they cannot even get this thing repaired professionally. You drop it to a fundi, and then the fundi is not able to find out what's going on with it. And they bring it back to you, and then you have to dispose it. So Kijani testing is doing a lot. We are currently now want to do a lot to do with the technical support, and the main agenda is to elongate the lifespan of these appliances. Of course, at the end, at some point, these appliances will retire. But you realize that if you elongate a lifespan of an appliance, then you create an opportunity here where the end user is not going to again add another appliance to the household. they're able to continue to get service from the same appliances. But then if it comes to an end, then we are looking to partnering with companies. There are already existing companies that are working with e-waste. They collect these e-waste and recycle them. So that is also something that we are also looking into. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Don. I think this discussion can go on and on till the end of the day. But I want to bring in our director, and maybe I'll also give him a chance to respond to Sami Jamar as he gives us his final comments and, take about today's debate, but also just to thank all of you for making time to be part of the ARIN Friday Reviews, the first edition for 2023. Sami is asking, my question goes to the cost of cooking, given that electricity tariffs are set to increase, and that is the case for Kenya. Will it still be economical considering the new tariffs? And again, has the e-cooking community lobbied for tariffs to promote e-cooking, especially in the off-peak periods? Thank you, Sami, for your question. Let me bring in our executive director, Dr. Joanne Satella, who will respond to Sami, but also give us his final comments. And also thank you very much, Don, for responding to the questions, but also for your excellent presentation and the amazing work that the Kijani tasting is doing. Karibu sana, Dr. Joannes.
Yeah, thank you, Juliet. And thanks, Don, for a very interesting presentation, which I think is very critical when you think about trying to link research to innovation, or trying to link innovation to business and practice, which is a major area for Africa. I have been part of the discussions around the Africa Agenda 2063 and also the Science, Technology and Innovation Strategy, the STESA 2024, which is currently due for review. And one of the fundamental decisions is to ensure that the next version of the STESA is actually action-oriented, and during some discussions, we had a number of innovators, presenting some of their work, people like the AfriLab, and of course related to what you presented, and these were really very fundamental interventions that we think should really form part of the frontier towards transforming Africa's science, technology, and innovation, not just to be a research-driven agenda, or not just to be a knowledge-driven agenda, but to be more impactful, because really we are talking about SDG number 1, which is about poverty alleviation. So if we can't really align all the interventions to support poverty alleviation, then I think Africa will remain at the place where it is for long. And this is a message to all the researchers, and therefore my first point relates to how we connect to these kinds of, as researchers or research communities, how do you connect to this kind of innovations to ensure that the research that is done, can be translated through those particular steps that Don has presented, and to ensure that there is some impact, that the ideas that come out of research from the universities, from think tanks, from research communities, PhDs and master's theses that everyone here is involved in, is actually, to some extent, a part of it is making inroads in terms of impact. So that raises the question around what is the connection between the research that we do and this kind of innovations, that Don has presented. And that also goes to Don. As you were making your presentation, I was wondering where you get your ideas that you test. So it's a very interesting question we always ask when we were leading the Kenya Innovation Outlook that ARIN fellows led, of course, led myself. And we were trying to understand how startups are very, providing great opportunities for the development of Kenya, because then they're more of business oriented. And then when we try to talk to them, where they get their ideas that they use to test the business model, to try, the startups to begin the small enterprises, really almost none, or 1% say they get the ideas from the universities or from the research. Most of them were drawing the ideas from, I don't know where. I mean, Don, you need to tell us this. It's some open space, some market, or somebody, I don't know. So this needs to be very clear where ideas are drawn to be tested and to be pushed into impact. So that's a very fundamental point that we need to think about these particular compartments. Already we see a very strong connection between the innovators, and the market, because that is the driver. Every innovator wants to satisfy the market. That is why questions like the ones that were being asked by Caroline, Linya, Fini, still linger, because the social perspective of these innovations are not properly developed. So awareness issues still remain at the peripheries. Market issues and profits and businesses actually is at the forefront. So there is a conflict there that really, the passion is to create profit, to create businesses. And there's limited attention given to the social elements. Yet, of course, the social elements are some of the fundamental drawbacks to Africa's attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals, simply because of issues of poverty, issues of lack of awareness. So what we see are trends which we need to have discussions, because under ARIN, through these Friday reviews, we'll try to unpack this further, because these trends basically mean we are reinforcing inequalities. If you talk about energy poverty, the people who suffer the most from the lack of access to clean and modern and renewable energy in line with the SDG 7 are our grandmothers, the mothers we've been talking about, the communities. But then you come to ask the question, what, in terms of their space in these discussions around innovations and around modernity, in clean energy, you really don't find a clear answer. So what that means is that really the SDG 7, the biggest problem that Africa faces today with SDG 7 is the exclusion of a large number of people, from accessing clean energy. So a big percentage. It's not about that there are no technology, there are no market tested opportunities. That's not the problem. Those are many. The problem is a large number of people who are supposed to benefit and access these particular initiatives are left out. So there's a big inequality. So every time you're told, Kenya aims, for instance, to achieve universal clean cooking by 2028, but at the moment we are still at, below 50, you see, and that statement continues until, we go into the next stage. So these are common narratives, and they are narratives that we impose, we sort of reinforce with the cycle of the same kind of approaches to how we engage in innovation, how we open up innovation, how we open up opportunities, how we open up the niches that are supposed to bring people into being part of the agenda. So these are fundamental questions that I think we really need to talk about. If we have to create some trigger, if we have to create a revolution in terms of how Africa is going to progress. And this is why ARIN is very key, is very keen to really spur that thought leadership, that we are able to ask the difficult questions. We are not, just conformist. We are, not just conforming to everything that, here, but we are able to question and find difficult solutions. It's not very easy, but certainly I'm really convinced that if we look at some of these issues from a more fundamental, from a more systemic, from a more sort of underlying drivers point of view, then we can begin to make some of these difficult questions. And then when we do that, then we find solutions that are able to really respond to the real problems that the continent faces at this particular time. And for me, I think that is very critical. Of course, starting with the discussions that we've had today. There are a number of other points that I think I would raise, but I think, for me, the fundamental one is really the trajectories of our innovation. Of course, I have questions around how do we connect, because I know there are so many innovation hubs and they're called incubation hubs where ideas are tested for market, but there are many in different places. And at one point you begin to wonder, where, because they're in different, context, where do they come together? What is it that can be done to create a proper linkage, in a way that create a bigger impact from this particular, test platforms. Let me call them generally like that, and then create a proper linkage with the scientific community, and then build that community to deliver effective programs, effective policies that are not just innovative, but are really responsive to the needs of the poor, because that is the fundamental call that we have in this particular century. I want to stop there and just say thank you so much for attending this first review session. As Juliet says, we have lined up a number of interesting sessions that are coming up throughout the year. And I do hope that we are going to find some answers, if not all. And we are going to present at the end of the year some, as a community, we are going to present some thought-provoking questions and suggestions, recommendations, and, ideas to the world. And yeah, may God bless you. And yeah, I thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Atela, for your excellent interventions. I normally say I do not like to speak much after Dr. Johannes because of his wealth of knowledge, but we are very grateful that you are able to attend today's session, and also for your very thoughtful insights. So we have taken 5 minutes of your time, but I request for 2 more minutes. We normally, as ARIN, it is our tradition to take virtual selfies after every review session with our participants for the respective sessions. So at this juncture, I would like to welcome us to turn on our videos for virtual selfies, and I can see our media team is on standby to capture your very beautiful and vibrant smiles, even as we work hard to push the African agenda on clean cooking energy. Let me have 1 more minute. All right, I can see almost all of our videos are on. So I want to check with Brian and our media team if we are good to go, so I can call them to smile. Awesome. All right, so at the count of 3, kindly show us your beautiful smile, and you'll be able to catch this on our Twitter. So make sure you follow us on Twitter at ARIN_Africa. Don't forget to check out our Facebook at the Africa Research and Impact Network. And this video will also be uploaded on our YouTube at the Africa Research and Impact Network. So 1, 2, and 3. All right, I can see signals from our team that we are good to go. I can see Norma is saying my first time. This was very interesting information and orientations. Thank you very much for joining us from the Central African Republic. And now on behalf of the ARIN fraternity, we say thank you so much, and we wish you a fantastic weekend. Check out our social media for our next review sessions, and let's catch you next Friday, same time, same place. Thank you, and bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.